Welcome to Lifting Leaders Podcast, where we are unleashing leader possibilities to make a better world. I'm Crystal Roberts, and together with Trisha Ryan, we're diving deeper into some of the complexities of the world's most critical challenges and exploring innovative ways of navigating through them.
Through interviews with experts and leaders just like you, we're exploring what it takes to thrive as a leader today and examining new ways of thinking about how to creatively lead into a more equitable, socially responsible, and sustainable future. And the future starts now. Hi, Crystal, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing about that awesome as well. Why are we feeling so awesome today?
I think because we get to talk a little bit about our research, and we're going to share some of that with our audience. We shared some of this at the conference,
yes,
but today is a coach's corner, and so we thought we'd go a little deeper into that and really spread that knowledge to our listeners as well. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's going to be fun, and for us anyway, we're really learning a lot from what came in from the surveys, the interviews, our speakers. It's been pretty rich. We've got a lot to untangle, I think, before we're ready to do anything else with it, right?
Yeah, we really do. And we are in the middle of our series, our special series called What Brings Us Hope.
Yes.
So I'm really loving this series and what we're learning from our speakers, and I hope people enjoy today's Coach's Corner, which will be also aligned with that, sharing some of the research around what brings us hope. Yeah. And what we really know is that where we put our attention matters. And when we shift our focus from what's broken to what's working, something really powerful happens. We start to think bigger. We see new possibilities. We get more creative and innovative. But we also know that it just doesn't happen naturally, that it actually takes effort. And it takes attention and intention. But it always starts with hope.
Yes.
Hope is that starting point. It's the spark for creativity. It's the root of innovation. And right now, boy, it's such a challenging time in our world right now. We feel really divided. We know that there's so many conversations going on around what does belonging, inclusion, what does equity mean? Not even what does it mean right now, but how do we express it in a way that feels safe?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that it's hard for people right now. I know from people that I've talked to who are finding it very hard to be innovative, to be creative, because they're afraid whatever they are creative about is not going to land well for either themselves, their friends, their organization, or whatever. So I'm starting to see a lot of, and I hope this is just a temporary little thing, but I'm starting to see a lot of people be very quiet. And our voices matter. Our voices matter every day, and it doesn't matter what we're talking about. If we believe in something, to the extent that you can feel safe, do it. Speak, right?
Find those opportunities. And so we wanted to, as part of the special series, why we decided we wanted to do this is because we wanted to go and look and bring to you where we were finding hope. What is bringing us hope? And we did find it. And so you're hearing some of these already. If you've been following along this special series, we've already talked with several people in all these different fields about where do they see hope now. And it's been inspiring.
Yes.
And I know for me, I've needed that inspiration, and it's been really helpful.
Yeah, I have too. And it is, I think we actually took some chances this last week, with doing something new and different and speaking our mind. We're just sharing with people what we're finding, but it's I think it felt really cleansing almost to be able to speak up and not worry about who was hearing that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And really thinking about the focus of this, is around where do we put our focus? And I want to share a little experience that I had in the last several weeks that just sort of naturally happened and really made me think about, when we shift our focus, it really does change things. And I was at an appointment and trying to race home to make it for a coaching conversation that was virtual. And I knew I wasn't going to make it. The appointment took longer than I thought. And so I texted the person, and while I was stopped, I did not text and drive. Yes. And asked if it's okay if we just did it on the phone this time instead of actually doing it virtual, where we could actually see each other. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So we did it. I took the coaching call in my car and was able to really focus in a very different way. So it felt almost intimate, actually, to have the conversation, just listening to somebody versus kind of being distracted by all the visual stuff that's going on. And we ended up having a really powerful conversation. And I thought, wow, what a great example of sometimes when we take away some of the other senses and we just have that one sense of hearing, how it can shift kind of how we pay attention. And I loved it. It was really fun. I'm going to do more of that.
I think that's a great example. It really is about how, we may not always have everything available to us, but we need to do good with what we have, right? Yeah. And it made me think while you were talking about how you could only hear it.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about, what about the old days when people only had telephones,
yeah.
right? And they didn't have any other way of talking, and they actually got a lot of information from that. I personally would not want to go back to that kind of time, but certainly it was something that people did more naturally back then. And yes, they had more probably richer conversations when they were live with the people they were talking to, but when they weren't, they still were able to have good conversations. I love it because, it just, kind of confirms what we've learned through the years in our own studies, is that people who don't have all of their senses available to them become very good with the ones that they do have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cool. So I encourage people to actually try it. Go back to the old fashioned, just
go buy a telephone.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No, but try something new like that, where you're not distracted by your email. You're not distracted by whatever's popping up on your computer. I think sometimes we don't even realize how much we're being distracted. And then when we cut it all out, it's like, ooh, it feels like this precious space.
But I will put a little wedge in there because you were driving, and so your visual was on the road. So that takes a little more of an effort because you were hearing everything that was said, and you said that was a really good conversation and you appreciated it. So I'm thinking, wow, because you might have been on autopilot getting home or something. But
So let me clarify one thing with that, which I think is a good point that you brought up. So the first 10, 15 minutes I was double doing. The rest of it, I was sitting in my driveway.
Okay.
And so that's when I actually noticed it, was when I was sitting in the driveway and I had nothing else to distract me. Yeah. So good call out. I agree. When you're driving, you're definitely, you better, your concentration better be divided.
On the road. Keep looking.
Better be divided. Yeah. But when I was sitting in the driveway and all I had was that, it felt powerful. Yeah.
I will say I've done phone call meetings before on, from my car, but the early ones I had, I never really liked because I was driving and I found it too distracting, and I don't recall everything that was said because I was too busy trying to figure out whether I'm going to be in an accident or not. But I stopped doing that. I do still take calls, meeting calls sometimes from my car, but what I'll do is I'll pull into a McDonald's or somewhere where I know they have Wi-Fi, and so I can sit there and have my conversation. Then when it's over, and I might even get a Diet Coke. I have no idea, but but it does help.
Yeah,
not having all that.
So today we are unpacking a little bit of our research.
Yes.
our participants in this research, which were both our guests on the show, as well as the survey, and some individual interviews as well. Yeah.
And so we had many, and what started happening was we started seeing themes. So with all the people that were interviewed by us online, and for those and offline, we did a few of those as well, and all the people who answered our survey on our website, we started seeing themes. And we have 10 themes that we wanted to kind of share with you today. So what we did was we had 4 questions that we asked through this survey. And one of the questions was, how do you sustain hope for yourself? And so we decided to unpack that a little bit today. And we have 10 themes. That there are more than that, but we just chose 10. And we have representative quotes from each of the themes that we came up with.
The top theme was around gratitude and positive focus. And so to start or end your day with 2 to 3 moments of gratitude. And one of my favorite quotes that came up around this was, I keep a gratitude spreadsheet. I was like, that's some dedication.
It's dedication, and it's also a little bit obsessive in a sense when you think about, wow, okay, keeping work where it needs to be.
So share in that spreadsheet 2 or 3 moments of gratitude each day. And the thing I really loved about that, though, is then it's easier to actually go back and sort of look for themes within your gratitude.
Yes.
So maybe you can look for areas where there's similarities, but also maybe where there's some gaps. Like maybe I'm not paying attention in this particular area or around this particular. If I've got a lot of moments regarding family, what about work? Are there some moments at work that I can actually find that I'm grateful for?
What I like about it also is that you have a historical view. So when you get to a point where maybe you're not feeling so grateful, maybe you're having struggles that you're just grabbing, trying to find, I've always been able to be grateful for something. What have I been grateful for that I can kind of pick up again? And to be able to go back through a spreadsheet and look and say, okay, I have been grateful for this before. What's happening today that I'm not?
Yeah.
You can do a little bit of self-exam, for where's my thinking? What stories are going on in my head that are different, right?
Yeah.
The second one that we came up with was faith and spirituality. There were quite a few responses on this. And one of the responses that we got was, I begin each day with some quiet reflection and several daily prayers. And I thought that was helpful for a lot of people who, let's say, go to church and really feel that, especially during COVID and beyond, all of the struggles we've had over the last 5 years, that's where they can let go, because they've handed it over.
Yeah.
And I think having reflection time for everybody is a great idea. Just breathe for a few minutes, just take a pause.
Yeah. And the spirituality also being, I think, encompassing everything that really recognizes that we're kind of not alone here, that there is something bigger than us. So really reaching beyond, being more inclusive, more inclusive of what spirituality means.
We're
to
a global
the individual.
community, right?
Yeah.
We are a global community.
Yeah.
Although it does put in my head that one picture. I used to have a postcard that had the Milky Way basically up in space. And there was an arrow that went to the teeniest, tiniest little dot, and it said, "You are here."
Yeah.
But I loved that because it did mean that we're not alone. We're a part of this cluster, right?
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah. The next theme was around connection and relationships, which included friends, family, and authentic connections. And one of the quotes that came from that is, through friends and family, those deeper, closer conversations keep me hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. The people that you love the most, the people with whom you communicate with all the time, those people who trust you and you trust them, there's nothing better. But that is when you're struggling, those are the people who will lift you up, right?
Yeah. And I think also being aware, as we were thinking about sort of our own agency and where we put our focus. Are there people in those circles of close connection that don't bring you hope?
Right.
And what do we do about that?
Yeah.
You know, is there, it's not that we want to, you know, kick people out of our world, but being aware of the impact that people are having on us. Who are the people that lift us up and that give us hope and bring up those feelings of hope? Or where does it drain us? And being mindful of when we are around those people.
Well, and I would go another step further, I think. You know, I'm not trying to give our listeners a new task that they must do, but it is something that makes me think, why don't you trust them? What is it about that person who you don't feel like you can have a more meaningful, tighter communication with?
Yeah.
And if it matters to you, that's a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's a conversation with that person to find out, you know, where is the break? Where is that gap between what you feel for them and, you know, what you can trust from them, that kind of thing. So I think, you know, for me, it's always, you know me, I'll talk to everybody. I'm a social butterfly. But I think it's important sometimes if you see something or if you know somebody. However, I will also say those people who drain us emotionally, it can be dangerous for us, right? Especially if we're struggling. So keep your own thinking in mind. You know, when you're around people who you don't know very well, just, you know, set the stage for a good experience. But if you're starting to not have one, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Do you need to end the conversation and go? Then do it. And then go someplace that does make you feel positive.
That's right. Yeah. That's that agency piece.
Right. And that kind of goes right into sort of the next one, which was self-care and well-being practices, right? And one of the quotes that I thought was absolutely true and a good idea, and that was that I maintain my outlook by making sure that I take care of myself. Absolutely. I cannot be in service if I'm feeling like crap. Good word, huh? It feels weird saying crap, but, you know, I'll say crap again. But it's true, you know?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, most people I know, feel like they're in service at some point in their life or not. So it's important to have a good attitude about where you're coming from, right? Feel like you're strong.
Yeah.
Right?
We have to start there, right? Mm-hmm. Start with our own oxygen mask.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In order to be able to go out into the world and make a difference and be supportive to other people and to take action, it begins right with us. Yep. The next one is action and agency. We've kind of been talking about this already, but really taking steps forward, advocacy, and micro goals. So even doing something like this one respondent said, which is, I email my legislature, I call the governor. So taking some kind of action helps us to sustain our own hope because it feels like a step forward, even if it's small.
You know, I think it's worth actually mentioning the other two quotes that we actually picked out of that as well, because this is action and agency. And so the second one was, I don't have to be miserable. I can choose to be happy and hopeful in the middle of a storm.
Yeah.
And that's so true. We all have choice, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We need to remember that. The last one being breaking things down into smaller, micro-achievable goals along the way gives confidence and keeps us marching, basically. And that's important too. You know, it's if everything is so big in front of us, sometimes we stop. You know, we don't know where to start, right? It's that garage with the boxes in it from top to bottom, side to side, front to back, and you don't know where to start, right?
Yeah. I wish I remembered who said this so I could attribute it. But when we were at the ODN conference, someone shared this statement, and I loved it. I wrote it down, and it's becoming my new mantra, which is, what is the minimal elegant next step that you can take. And I loved that because it feels hopeful. It feels possible. A minimal, elegant step. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and don't we need to start there sometimes before we ever take bigger steps, especially if we are trying to learn to trust, or if we're searching for hope. Hope is, if it's right in front of you, but the step is really big, you need to find the smaller steps to get there sometimes because it's achievable. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the next one we came up with was contagion and influence. Contagion, huh? Which is true. One of the responses was, there's an idea called social contagion. Our thoughts and behaviors are shaped by our networks. And isn't that true? In a way, the people around us and the headspace they're in at the time can really influence how we respond or how we continue, right?
Yeah. I've experienced that so many times when you're sitting in a room with other people and somebody walks in. It can either bring the whole room down or it can bring the whole room up. The energy just like kind of increases.
Yes.
And I would say that's like tenfold if it's a leader. If a leader walks in, especially of that group, walks in and they are angry or they are upset, like it just takes the energy out of the room.
And that's the time usually when the leader will say, so what ideas do you have for, how we can do this? And the whole place is silent.
Yeah. But also I've seen it really shift when I actually really love it when a leader gets there early, especially when you're talking about something like where you're going to engage the group and you're going to ask them to give ideas and stuff. To be early and to welcome people individually into the room, it just shifts everything.
And just talk for a moment, right?
Yeah.
And if the room's set up in rounds of 6, 7, 8, whatever, and just go around from table to table until the meeting starts, just touching base. It's a great way to build some rapport, right?
Yep. The next one was nature and simplicity. So grounding in the natural world and small acts. And we heard this actually from a lot of people, and I hear it a lot, I don't know, in the last couple of years especially, a lot more where people are getting a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration from the natural world. Here's one person's voice: catching as many sunsets and sunrises and beach walks as possible.
I love that.
But just literally going out and touching a tree,
Yeah.
or looking at a flower, stepping outside at night, seeing the stars, like those things can really kind of expand our minds a little and bring us hope.
Yeah, definitely brings us hope. I love the idea of going for a walk and seeing something in nature that you may not always get to see, like a butterfly that's you've not seen that type before, or maybe a chrysalis hanging from a branch. That's kind of cool because you know that life is about to come out, or seeing. I remember one time when I was a teenager, and I had just gotten my first car, and it was a really old car, but hey, it worked. But I was driving down this dirt path that was near my house, and it was one where usually dirt bikes went on it, but I was going to try my car on this. And there was a mother coyote on one side of the road and about 6 pups on the other side, so I stopped. And connection is my thing, right? So I got out of my car because the puppies were not there. I don't know what they're called, puppies or not, but I call them puppies. They're not afraid of people. They were really young. And I just sat there for a minute in front of my car, and the mother's sitting there looking at me like, well, what are you going to do? And all I did was sit there to see what would happen. And a couple of them started walking my way. The mother yipped, and they went in a different direction. But I'd never seen wild coyotes in my life that were just making their way through the day.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen babies.
Yeah.
And it was just the rest of the day, I was so high from how great it made me feel that I got to see something that most people don't get to see.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I got it and you didn't. It was more like I just saw a moment.
Yeah.
And so I always look for things like that. It's just kind of amazing to me.
Yeah. I'll share my story really quickly too. This just happened. I was sharing with you before we went to the conference that I was rushing around trying to get all my stuff together so we could get out of there on time. And my husband had taken off. I thought he'd taken off, but he texted me and he's like, "You've got to come out the front door." And I was like, "Oh no, what's going on?" There was this huge owl in our backyard sitting on the fence. And I have seen owls once in a while. It's pretty infrequent. We hear them more than we see them. But he was just sitting there on the fence. And he was, what was really funny, and I'm hoping I can get this picture clear enough that I can share it on social media, but he was sitting right next to my sign that I have put up that is the Audubon sign.
Right.
Because if people remember from our past episodes, we went and bought some plants that were good for nature and for birds and
bees and butterflies.
And this sign from Audubon says these natural plants are planted here for the bees and the butterflies. And he was right next to that sign. It was so funny, but it was really fun. And so I sat there and I watched him, and I had the same sort of experience you just described. It's like all that stress just like flooded right out of me.
It does.
And it stuck with me. Yeah, it was really fun.
It's like I've seen pictures on the news, the local news, where people are on a boat and all of a sudden a killer whale breaches.
Yeah.
And to hear the voices of the people on the boats, having seen something like that recently, there's a new baby in the J pod that has not been, in one of the pods that has not, they haven't had a lot of births that have done well, and this baby was doing really well. And so a lot of people got to see it up close. And I got thrilled, and I was watching it on the news.
Yeah.
But how cool would that be if you're sitting on that boat and all of a sudden, you're seeing a killer whale, an orca. How cool. I mean, we live in orca country, but really.
It's still thrilling every time we get to see them. Yeah.
The next one was values, purpose, and meaning. And it's really staying true to our values, our purpose, and our responsibility. And one of the responses that came in was, it's the belief that I can make change happen that allows me to make it through the tough stuff. I can make change happen. So if I know that in my heart, I can get through the tough stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really, I think that's a pretty cool quote, actually. It's true. We have to realize sometimes when we see things that are difficult in front of us, how prepared are we? Do we have the fortitude or whatever to stand up to it?
Yeah.
I believe most people do.
Yeah.
It's just believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's so important. And the clarity, we work with a lot of our clients around these things, values, purpose, and meaning. The clarity of knowing what your values are, stating your values, helps you to be able to identify when things are supporting that and when they're not. And then what do you do about it? Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that we've both done in training programs or learning development programs for leaders is had a day or had a module on our values. And it always strikes me how hard it is for people to come up with their values because they've never really had to think about it.
Yeah.
But if they realized that they make moves, they react to things based on their values. You almost want to say, let's do our values, but here, I want to know, how do you react when something hits you, and you weren't ready for it? Oh, I get angry or whatever. Okay, so what value is that touching? What causes you to be there? Well, because, it's interesting that we all act on our values. We don't always know that, or it's not a conscious thing. But if it isn't, you might want to sit down sometime and talk about, just write down all the things that are important to you: family, love, truth, honesty, all of that kind of thing. Those are your values, a lot of them. So, how many of them are really your values, the things that you stand on when you make a decision, the things that matter when somebody's in trouble? Those are your values, or those are the things that keep you ticking, right?
Yeah. So support and service to others, helping others renew one's own hope. So I think that is an interesting one, right? We can sustain our own hope through helping others find their hope. We find that to be inspiring. Yeah. And the voice there is creating opportunities for people who don't feel seen or heard keeps me hopeful.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really good. And the last one we have that we're sharing is struggles and honesty about difficulty.
Yeah.
And that's admitting ups and downs and regrouping and, showing your vulnerability. And the quote for that is, this one blew my mind a little bit, but I really like it, actually. Yeah. For me, I have hope every other day, 50% of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, own it.
Right.
Own it.
Yeah. It's okay to lose a little hope at times and to regroup.
Well, and because we're humans, right? I mean,
that's right.
We lose trust sometimes and then we regain it. Sometimes we forget our faith for a while and then we regain that. So there's a lot as a human we have to carry, to keep hope alive, right?
Yeah.
And so if it dips a bit, it's okay.
That's right. We don't want to beat ourselves up for that.
No, but keep your eyes and your sights on those things that do make you feel hopeful.
Yeah.
That's where you want to live.
Yeah. Putting your attention on those things.
Yeah.
Being intentional about that. Yeah. And so what can we as leaders, and we're all leaders, what can we do? What kind of hopeful practices can we practice? Mm-hmm. Here are a few things that we have found that really do help. One of the most important things a leader can do is communicate a compelling vision.
Yes.
And this is really about getting really clear, like painting a vision that, give all of the color. And it's really about the future, right? Helping people to see beyond their present challenges toward what's possible.
Yes, yes. And the next one is model resilience and optimism. Embody steadiness and confidence, showing through their own actions, your own actions, that setbacks can be overcome.
We just can't emphasize enough how important modeling these things are as a leader.
Yeah, that is such a good point, Crystal, when I think about like a formal leader in an organization.
Yeah.
Setbacks happen. We're humans, right?
Yeah.
Mistakes happen. And the way to boost people's resilience or get them to exercise that mental muscle is to show them that we know mistakes happen. So what happened? Where's the breakdown? And how can we avoid that next time, right? It's important.
Yeah. Celebrating progress and small wins, highlighting achievements along the way. I think a lot of times we can get really fixated on what's the sort of end outcome that we're looking for. And sometimes that can be years away, or it can feel that way anyway. It's like, oh, it's almost unattainable. It's going to be a long time. There's a lot of work that has to happen before we get there. We don't have to wait to celebrate until that big project is done. Like, what are some meaningful wins that we can celebrate along the way? And that helps generate energy. It shows that we are achieving, we are moving in the right direction. And all of that helps to build hope.
The next one's listen with empathy, which is acknowledging struggles and validating experiences. And that goes always, Try and put yourself in someone else's shoes for a moment, because it's easy to sit and judge, right? Yeah. But if we were really to want to get to the bottom of something truly and not disengage in the process, just take a deeper dive, and listen with your heart and not so much with whatever your last experience was or the stories that are in your head.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite parts of the group coaching that I do with Wiser. part of what the group has to do is listen with empathy while someone is telling their story and what maybe their challenge was, or even celebrating wins. But inevitably, what people say at the end that they got out of the group coaching was that they no longer feel alone. Oh, like every single group has said that. And that can be so important as far as holding hope, right? As you realize that you're not alone. Other people, even in difficult times and struggles, there's somebody that's there with you. You're not crazy, right? It's like, or you don't have big deficits. We're all on a learning journey. And I just love that.
I do too. And the last one we have here today is empower others. So give other people ownership and tools. And I think that is so important. And I know when I've done that in the past or even now, to me, it feels good. Yeah. It feels like I did the right thing. And it makes them feel good too, which is very hopeful. It's a very hopeful place to sit. And it also does wonders for building a more sound and solid relationship with someone or others, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As coaches, one of the most important things that we do is hold positive regard for our clients, which essentially means the deep belief that they are capable of solving their own problems. And so we are there to walk beside them.
Right.
And to ask good, thoughtful questions that help them to get in touch with what the right answers are for them.
And leaders can do that.
And leaders can do that too. Yeah, for sure. So when we were talking about empowering others, it's really helping them not to, layer something onto them, but to take the layers off so that they can see what's already there.
It's inspirational.
Yeah.
It is inspiring others to take the mantle, if you will. It's a great way to build people up, but in doing that, it helps them connect with and feel closer to you, right? It's true. If somebody trusts me with something, empowers me to do something, I have a different regard for them. So what we've done here today is we've just kind of gone over some of what we've gotten. Trust me, it's just a tiny bit of what we've gotten out of 2 years of research. And I'm excited to see where we're going to take this next. We've got so much still to unpack, and I'm excited about it, and I'm excited that we're going to be sharing a lot of it with our listeners. I think one of the things I take away from this is that we all have choices. We have choices on whether we want to be. Hope is not something that you either are or you aren't. It is a verb, right? But you can hope for things, and if it doesn't happen, you can unpack it a little, right? Or you can shift gear. But we have choices in life. We can choose to be hopeful. I do believe that. Life is going to hit us with all sorts of circumstances. It's going to hit us with all sorts of challenges. And how we look at them is really how we hold our hope, right, to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And as leaders, we help curate that. We help curate the culture, and we support that. And so leaders have a really important role in helping their teams and their folks be hopeful. And then it starts with you, right? In order to be able to show up in that way, we have to make sure we have hopeful practices, which we just went through those several practices, things that we can do that help us to sustain it for ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hope that is helpful. We hope that it's helpful for you.
You're going to be hearing that word a lot this year.
And we would love to hear from you. What practices do you have that sustain hope for you, especially in these challenging times?
Yeah.
And let's keep that conversation going.
If you have questions or comments about the show, you can find us on all our social media channels lifting_leaders. We have so many exceptional podcast episodes coming up with more fantastic guests. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. If you know someone who could find this episode inspiring, share it with them. Text them, email them, or take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram and tag us at lifting_leaders. If you'd like to know more about us, our guests, or the show, please go to our website at liftingleaderspodcast.com. You'll find our show notes there as well. If you're looking for help in developing your leaders or would like a growth opportunity yourself through leader coaching, please contact us through our website at www.liftingleaderspodcast.com. Thank you to Ari Chance Roberts for his technical support of our show. Finally, please take 30 seconds to follow us. It helps you because you never miss an episode, and it helps us because
you never miss an episode.
I love that. To follow us, go to a Lifting Leaders podcast show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow. While you're there, if you'd be willing to give us a 5-star rating and a review and share the episode with a friend, we'd be very grateful. Thank you, Crystal, for another fun episode. This was good. I love Coach's Corners.
It gives us a chance to talk a little bit about from our own experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Many thanks to you, our listeners. We do appreciate you so much. Find ways every day to lift each other up. Take care.
Bye.